3 students abducted from Greenfield University in Kaduna have been found dead. The bodies of the students were found in a village close to the university where they were abducted by gunmen on Tuesday. This news came after President Buhari's meeting with northern governors to find lasting solutions to the rising wave of banditry and criminality. The chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Simon Lalong, is optimistic that the meeting will be a turning point in the region.
Well, this meeting is in respect of some of the common features of insecurity that we have within our states. You recall that many of the states have some of the insecurities that are very similar. So within us here, we have a lot of them that are similar. We put them together on how to address some of those issues. And we felt that we must also meet Mr. President about it. It's about the insecurity. I think they are not disclosed because these are security, but the takeaway will say that the meeting with the President was very fruitful. And we are also very committed, and we have seen a lot of commitments, so we are waiting for the implementation. Well, you will see what will happen. I think that's the assurance I will give you, because based on this meeting, we will also wait to see the commitment. And Mr. President has given us that assurance.
Meanwhile, the Katsina State Commissioner for Education says the state will now use dogs as a way to boost security in boarding schools. According to the commissioner, local breeds have the ability to detect images as far as 20 kilometers away and will be able to keep the students safe. He also added that perimeter walls and barbed wire will be installed with watchtowers in schools. Joining me now to address this and other topical issues across the country is Professor Abubakar Siddique. Professor Siddique is former head of the Department of Political Science and International Studies at the Ahmadu Bello University, ABU, in Zaria. He is now Director General, Center for Democratic Development Research and Training, Zaria. Good to have you, Professor Abubakar Siddique Mohammed, on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show.
Thank you.
Well, Prof, quickly, the country faces a clear crisis of generalized insecurity. Before now, the conversation was around Boko Haram in the northeast, and also, perhaps some other issues, isolated issues elsewhere. Farmers, herders conflict within the Middle Belt. But now we're talking about insecurity across the country. And it looks ironic, considering the fact that this administration, the Buhari administration, campaigned on the platform of checking the challenge of conflict in Nigeria. How did we get here? What do we need to do? Where did the government drop the ball?
There are so many factors. In fact, 7 years ago, after conducting research in Kaduna, in Katsina, and Zamfara, we organized a workshop in Kaduna Arewa House, where we said that insecurity, if not checked, what we've seen in the field, if it is not checked, will develop into a sort of malignant cancer. It's just like a cancer, which people thought was benign, but it is becoming malignant. In other words, it will go around the country. Because the bandits we encountered are getting emboldened, and unless they are checked, the situation will escalate. Unfortunately, this is what we are seeing today. At that time, if you read Nigerian newspapers, the talk was farmer-herder conflict. In our center, we take all the papers. And when we read, we keep on reading farmer-herder conflict. We said something was not adding up. We decided to go to the field on our own to see what was happening. We were horrified by what we saw. We realized that it is no more farmer-herder conflict. A superior force has emerged in the northwest, which is subjugating both the farmer and the herder. You can't continue talking about farmer-herder conflict when the farmer is running for dear life and the herder is also running for dear life. In the case of the herder, he has lost his cattle through cattle rustling. In the case of the farmer, he also has been forced to abandon his farm. Now, how do you talk of farmer-herder conflict in this situation? So there is something much more serious than that. In fact, at the time we were doing our work, the bandits issued letters to the various district heads and emirs in the areas, especially in Zamfara, telling them to instruct their people not to go to farm. Those who went, in one town we went, the name of the town is Angulbi. Those who defied them and went to the farm, about 25 of them were brought dead to the district head. Before then, in one town, they called El Galadima, on a market day, in a broad daylight, bandits attacked the town and killed 140. That is the official figures. 140 people were killed. We went to that town. We even have the empty shells. So the thing was escalating. The rural rich have been pauperized because bandits were attacking them, and actually dispossessing them of whatever they had. And in most cases, their children raped in their presence. That was what was happening. And in large part of Zamfara, the bandits had taken over. In one town we went, they called, in the same Dangulbi, it has one of the largest cattle market in the area, in the northwest. In fact, a minimum of 500 cows were sold on market day before the crisis. The day we went there, not a single cow was in the market. They have all been rustled. And the thing was spreading. And the bandits had even destroyed banks. If you leave Zaria, where I live, up to Gusau, the only place you meet a bank is in Gusau. Now, we came back and went to Birningwari in Kaduna State. Going there itself was a problem. We had to go to the emir of Birningwari, who gave us a lecture on how to navigate our way into Birningwari, because you have to know when to leave Kaduna and then get to Birningwari, and you have to know when to leave Birningwari, especially on a market day. They will block the road and then confiscate whatever money traders have. So when the traders realized that they were losing their money, they started using the banks in Birningwari. The two banks there were set ablaze by the bandits, forcing people to actually move with money. And this in Katsina, it was the same thing. Around Sabwa area, many people were killed. So we said, look, this thing is getting out of control. Unless care is taken, unless action is taken, it will spread to other parts of Nigeria. Unfortunately, what we feared is happening. But there's also a problem we have, especially with the press, Ruben. We tend to overgeneralize what is happening. There's certainly farmer-herder conflict going on in some parts of Nigeria, no doubt about that. But in many parts of Nigeria, especially in the north, the situation has morphed into something totally different, into generalized banditry. And sometimes when you read newspapers, people talk about jihadists coming, But I'm wondering, what do they mean by that? If you look at if you compare what is happening in the northwest and northeast, the conflict there is ideological, in the sense that you have a group well organized, trained, with a doctrine, with an ideology, and an outcome they expect. In the case of Northwest, it's not the same. There isn't one group like Boko Haram with an ideology, with a structure in place aimed at conquering Nigeria. So there's a world of difference between that and between the two. Secondly, if you look at the jihad of Sheikh Usman Dan Fodio, it's also well organized. It is not what people are saying. It's an organized thing against the existing state structure at that time. This is not what is happening today in Nigeria. And no, there's no group, intending to impose any ideology, any religion on any part of Nigeria, especially, the bandit. So these are criminals, and they have to be treated as such. So unfortunately, it has the kidnapping and the banditry is actually engulfing the whole country. Again, there's the issue of generalization. If you take what is happening, for example, in the Southwest, there's conflict between farmer and herder. Most of the farmers, most of the herders are from that very particular locality. Those in the Zamfara area are not the ones you see there, or those in Kaduna area are not the ones you see there. Those ones, many of them were born in the area, they speak Yoruba. I remember in 1977, as a youth corps in Ayotoro, during the camp at Ayotoro, we were just going to one small village. We met some Fulani pastoralists. So we talked to them in Hausa. They didn't understand Hausa. My colleague, who is Fulani, talked to them in Fulfulde. They didn't understand Fulfulde. They could speak only Yoruba. Only Yoruba. And so they are there. And there are problems between them and the farmers in the area, as it is, all over the world where you have pastoralists and farmers. Cattle rustling is also common in all areas with the kind of structure that we have. Is it in Kenya? Is it in Uganda? And so on and so forth. Farmer-header conflict is always there. But they have local structures to deal with the situation. What we are having today is totally different, totally different. As I said, the farmer is running for dear life, especially in Zamfara and in Kaduna and in Katsina. And the header himself is also running for dear life because he has lost all his cattle. Then we went back and did some field work again on the economic impact of this rural banditry. In fact, we realized that productivity has come down by about 50%, especially in Zamfara, which is an agrarian society. People work very hard. By 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, many of them are on their farms, but they can't go to the farm again because any attempt to go to the farm will be met with death. That is what is happening in there. In fact, that will even have effects on prices of things in Nigeria.
Well, Prof, there's something you referred to,
yes,
which, maybe perhaps in parentheses, in passing, which is the ethnic profiling and the criminalization of the Fulani and the Hausa ethnic stock. But do you really think that this is new? I don't think it's new. Perhaps what we're dealing with is an escalation in terms of that characterization. And is there really any ethnic group in Nigeria that does not suffer from that kind of ethnic profiling across the geographical regions? Because I know that you were one of those persons who said that the Fulani and the Hausa were being wrongly profiled.
Yes. What I'm saying is profiling is not good. No ethnic group should be profiled. And no ethnic group has the monopoly of violence, or no ethnic group has the monopoly of, what am I saying? I said violence. And so any crime you see committed by one ethnic group, you see it also committed by another ethnic group. But what has happened recently in Nigeria is that because majority of those who engage in this rural banditry, especially in the north, happen to be Fulani. So every Fulani is a bandit. We can't say every armed robber is Igbo, okay? Or every ritualist is Yoruba. No, they are insignificant number if you look at the population. And so, as I said, they are criminals, and they should be treated as such, instead of actually generalizing the situation and saying every Fulani is actually a bandit. Every Fulani is a kidnapper. Before it became general, kidnapping became generalized in the northwest, in the northern part of Nigeria. It was generalized in the southeast. Nobody was saying Igbos were, all Igbos are kidnappers. Ritual killing is generalized in many parts of southwest. Nobody is saying every Yoruba is a ritualist. So we have to identify the criminals and deal with them according to the laws of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. As simple as that. But glorifying, look at what happened recently. Glorifying ethnic militias who go about killing people because they are Fulani is unacceptable in any society.
Well, Prof, let's deal with specific issues. Now, what do you think government needs to do? We have had all kinds of proposals around the table. In Katsina State now, they are looking for dogs all over the place to protect boarding schools. How about that as a solution? They probably will look for suppliers from some other parts of the country. Then some people have called for the politics of appeasement, of pacification, of restitution. You have said that the bandits are criminals. Should we mollycoddle criminals? What should government exactly do? And what do you think government has not done that makes that has now turned banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, abductions into big business, and Kaduna State as epicenter, taking over from Zamfara State, as it were.
Yes, exactly. If you take how come this thing got generalized, it has to do with the policies of government. In the case of Zamfara, for example, the government woke up one day and confiscated large tract of land and handed it over to the nouveau riche. The land was occupied, had hundreds of hamlets occupied by pastoralists, and they were asked to leave the land. Where did they go in the circumstances? What did they do? They don't know anywhere. This is where they have been since time immemorial. You know, a governor wakes up, misuse the Land Use Act, and then dispossess them of the land. Of course, when you ask them to move, they will move. As they move, they will come into contact with farmers. And in the process, conflict will ensue. That is one major problem. The second problem is that while people are talking about the need for modernization of the livestock industry, they should realize that it cannot happen overnight. And so the structures in place that have served us over a long period of time should be protected. Here I'm talking about the cattle part. The cattle part has been there even before the creation of Nigeria. Mohammed Bello, the Sultan of Sokoto, foresaw that unless something was done at that time, there will be conflict between farmers and herders. And so the whole idea about creating cattle part, came. So farmers will have their land to farm, and pastoralists will also have their part to graze. The British colonial administration came, and they even expanded it. So there are grazing reserves all over. The nouveau riche, who were in power, or who had contact with those in power, began to take over some of these lands and push the pastoralists out. And by doing so, they come into conflict with farmers. And then the politicization of the whole issue by politicians in order to advance their own interests. In doing so, they elicited the support of a section of the Nigerian press, which ethnicized the whole conflict. A situation which should be handled became politicized, and in the process, it got out of control. This is what is happening. Now, the government, should first of all ensure that some of these cattle parts are recovered. Some of them were just taken, nothing is happening there, but people have fenced them because they have power, because they have money. In fact, they are the ones who even introduced violence into the whole system because they armed their guardsmen so that nobody should come there. So this cattle part should be repossessed by the state so that this conflict between farmer and herders will not continue. That is one. While we pursue the modernization of our livestock industry, we can't get people to move from one form of agric into another overnight. It takes time. So we need to have a transition period to do that. But it cannot be done overnight in the way I've been reading in Nigerian newspapers. It's going to cause chaos. You are going to deny people their trade, their means of livelihood, and with that, the conflict that we see today in Nigeria. Luckily, in fact, while I was waiting for you, I saw that the governors from the Northwest had a meeting with the president. I hope they will come out with some minimum consensus on how to deal with it. Now, you have mentioned Katsina, which is my state. We once met there. Governor Aminu Bello Masari came under serious attack when he said there should be dialogue. I can see also the governor of Zamfara State is coming under attack. People felt that by going into dialogue, the problem could be resolved overnight. It cannot be resolved overnight. What was the strategy? Why were they preaching dialogue? Number one, they realized that they were helpless. We do not have enough policemen to deal with the criminality in this area. By the last count, I know that the last time I checked, we have 350,000 policemen in Nigeria. Out of these 350,000 policemen in Nigeria, more than half are following important people. Members of the National Assembly, governors. See any governor traveling. Count the number of police following him, minimum of about 20. Multiply it by the number of states we have in Nigeria. Those ones are out of a normal policing. At the presence of the Senate, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of the Federation, just name them. More than half of the policemen are actually guarding state officials. Some people will say engage in regime protection. What we have is about 100,000 police. Divide them about between 774 local governments in Nigeria. Some local government headquarters don't even have 10 policemen. I remember we were doing some work in Nigeria after our field work in Zamfara. I was saying there was a general in the meeting. I was telling them that we have a serious problem. If the bandits decide to take over take Katsina town, they may take it. The only thing that will stop them is because we have a battalion in that time. He argued, he said it's not possible. I went to the former police IG Kumasi, late Kumasi. May he so rest in peace. I asked him, do we have 10 policemen in some of the local government headquarters? He said, no, we don't have them. And so Abiru Bello Masari and the governor of Zamfara, have a serious problem to deal with. And the governor of Kaduna State, also for that matter. Kaduna is a bit better because it's even headquarters of a division of the Nigerian army. So what has happened is that if the bandits attack a village, any Fulani man there, whether it's bandit or not, is grabbed and killed. Some of them were slaughtered like cows, like goats in some part of Katsina. So when those in the town see what has happened to their brothers, they ran away and into the bush to link up with the bandits. So you had hardcore bandits in the forest, in the thick forest, and you also have people who are running, who are settled Fulani, who are farmers, who are traders, who are running into the bush because of what was happening to them in the town. So Aminu Bello Masari said, let's have some dialogue within the communities. By so doing, we'll be able to divide these people in the bush. Those who want to settle peacefully, come back to their homes and settle and go about their vocation, should be allowed to come, should come. In the process, you will be able to separate them from the hardcore bandits. If you separate them from the hardcore bandits, then you are able to carry the battle to the hardcore bandits. So you are weakening them. That was the whole idea. Realizing that they do not have enough police force and the army to deal with the situation. Remember, Nigerian army is also overstretched. A paper presented about 2 years back by a general in the Nigerian army mentioned the fact that the Nigerian army is overstretched. It is doing police work. They cannot, and they don't have enough manpower to do it. And so it's a major problem. If you're a governor of a state, you have to come out with ingenious way of actually dealing with the situation. So it's not just a matter of appeasement. They have been pushed into doing what they had to do, but the circumstances they met themselves. And so the need for us to expand the Nigerian police, equip them properly, to retrain them to meet the new challenges that we are facing. The Nigerian army is not trained to fight asymmetric war. No, they don't even have enough manpower to do that. So there's a need for us to recruit and retrain them to meet the challenges facing us. That is a problem. So it's not a matter of appeasement. Sometimes you are forced by circumstances to do what you did. Let me tell you, in a meeting attended by the secretary to the Katsina state government, he mentioned the fact that there was a time, in Katsina, when the police decide to go out to pursue the bandits, they take the arms confiscated from the killed bandits that are more sophisticated than what the Nigerian police is using. And so exhibits which should be used in court, and they borrow it in order to go to fight the bandits. So the bandits were indirectly supplying arms to the police, so that they fight them. So it's a horrible situation. How come bandits are better equipped than the Nigerian police? In one village we've gone, You get it? Police were not paid their allowances. So the villagers, organized to give them food so that they don't leave them. So you know that one of the major functions of any state since the creation of societies is law and order. Two institutions are extremely important in this situation. One, the police and the army. Unfortunately, in our country, both the two institutions have problems. They don't have enough manpower, and they are poorly equipped. And with that kind of situation, they will not be able to deal with this banditry. I remember telling some of the police officers we were having meetings that if you tell Nigerians that you can defend them, you'll be lying to them. But you should be telling them, psychologically, they'll have some satisfaction that you have a force to protect them. But I know from my field work that they will be lying if they say they can protect all of us. They cannot, they don't have the manpower. Now the issue of intelligence gathering is extremely important. We also went to the offices of the secretaries to the state government, went back into history to find out how they were able to deal with insecurity. We found out that data gathering from the local government to the state headquarters were meticulously handled, and they had analysts who analyzed all these things and actually advise the governors on what to do to deal with the situation. I'm sorry to say these things have suffered in Nigeria, especially with the multiplication of states. When a state is created in Nigeria, like if you take, for example, a state like Zamfara, when it was created out of Sokoto, automatically, all the ministries in Sokoto were multiplied also, were replicated in Zamfara. And that is what is happening all over Nigeria. And then people from those states are moved there. Some assistant director automatically becomes a permanent secretary, and so on and so forth. So he has not been properly trained. He has not gone through the mill to handle some of the problems that you face. And so data gathering, intelligence analysis has also suffered in this country. And so we have to take that very seriously in order to deal with the situation. There is also generalized poverty in this country. Although although there's a theory which says that it is not automatic that if somebody is poor, he will become a criminal. No. But if one is poor, the possibility that he may be encouraged to go into criminality is there. When you have 14 million out-of-school children, it's a problem. What will they become in the next few years? Even those who have left secondary schools, in the past they were given skills. They were given skills. They become mechanics. They become what do you call it?
Prof, can you hear me?
They become tailors and so on and so forth. Yes?
Hello, yes, Prof. Yes, I was going to ask you about schools.
Yeah, I can hear you.
The education sector. This is where you have spent your entire public career.
Exactly.
Now, schools are not safe in the last few months, 5 months.
They are not.
Schools have been attacked one after the other in parts of the north. 618 schools have been shut down. And so much now that boarding schools to be reopened in Katsina State, your state. The Commissioner of Education says that they will apply a dog solution. Get dogs that can bark and that can smell to solve the problem. How do we make our schools safe to address this challenge of education?
Dogs alone.
Hello? You were saying something. Hello, Prof.
Yes, dogs alone can't give them security. It can only alert security men in the school and the student, if there are no security men, to run away. That's what dogs can do. They cannot save them. And so the schools have to be manned. If you don't have enough police, we then have to train the local people there to be able to defend those schools, which means you have to change the laws allowing people to hold guns in Nigeria. I don't mean every Nigerian should have a gun. The local communities will have to be trained. In every local community you go to in the north, you have retired police officers, you have army officers and co. So the government should begin to recruit them and train them to defend the kids. And the kids also should be trained, the students should be trained on survival tactics. That is imperative. Well, we can't go on leaving the schools closed. Already, the product of the schools are poor, extremely poor. They are not properly trained. I have been teaching for over 35 years. You know, those who come to the university at 100 level are poorly trained across the country. You may have some who are highly educated, who are properly trained because they've gone to good schools, good private schools. They are expensive. Many poor Nigerians. How much does a civil servant earn in Nigeria to pay the school fees of in some of those schools that we have in the country? If I remember, as a head of the Department of Political Science, I said we should assume that those coming to us at 100 level are not properly trained to even come to the university. We assume they are not properly trained. And so we will retrain them. We will take the first year, you know, to bring them up to speed. That's what we will do up to level. Because if you don't do that, by the time they get to 200 and 300 level, if you see the carryovers, it's like a skyscraper. They have so many courses to take, and many of them eventually withdraw. So we insisted that we should teach them what they are supposed to be taught before coming to us, like preliminary. Two, we make sure that tutorials was compulsory. You know, and then we gave them a set of material which they must read and also come to tutorials with it so that we improve them before they continue with the university education. So I'm telling you that this is what is happening in Nigerian schools. Many of the schools have collapsed. You know, teachers are not trained. Look at what happened in Kaduna State. The governor of Kaduna State, you know, gave them exams. Many of them failed. Recently, I was talking with the secretary to the state government. They were recruiting again. They were trying to recruit. Some of those they want to recruit who have a NCE or B.Ed could not even write simple application to get the job. In fact, in one of the institutions, I mean, they came with certificate from one of the institutions. They thought that the certificates were fake. They went to the school to check. They realized that the certificates were not fake. It means the whole educational system in the whole school is fake. This is a problem we are having. Now, you already have this, and on top of that, you close the school. Or even if you don't close the student and the teachers are looking over their shoulders. Learning will become very difficult in that condition. It's really terrible what is happening in our schools. So you can't close the schools. They have to be open to get whatever teaching they could get. They have teaching they will get. And secondly, you have to train the local communities, arm them to be able to defend themselves. The students themselves should be given some survival tactics, how to bolt away when these people are coming. Dogs alone will not do it. Dogs will tell you that there are bandits coming 1 kilometer away or half a kilometer away so that you prepare to do something. Maybe that is what you want to say. You know? Well,
Prof, I would also like to talk about how complex the security situation in Nigeria has become. But before I come to that, with regard to the situation in Chad and the role of France in that emergent crisis in Chad, I wanted to ask you some clarification. In the course of this conversation, you have blamed the Nigerian press at least twice. You talked about the section of the press in Nigeria. You talked about problem with the Nigerian press. Can you be more specific? Because you were generalizing when you were condemning the Nigerian press.
Misrepresentation is what they do in most cases. One, I've read a series of articles where people have said, have written in their papers recently that what is happening is an attempt by the Fulanis to take over. I'm not Fulani, mind you, but the Fulanis to take over, to impose their will on the rest of Nigeria. Nothing is farther from the truth. A friend of yours recently wrote an article. What is his name? He is your friend. You once had an exchange with him. He even said that he went around and he read the history of the Fulani and so on and so forth. So this is what they are. And then nothing is farther from the truth. That is one. That some people say it is a jihad. I don't think they even understand jihad. If they understand jihad, they will not make that kind of statement. There's also, in fact, let me give you a typical example. One day, I saw one of the television stations, one of the television stations, maybe I shouldn't mention the name. They said Fulani headers have invaded a school in Edo. Invaded a school in Edo. I said, what is happening? I stayed to watch. Then what I saw was a man who could hardly walk, with one cow. He strayed into a school, he got tired and fell asleep. In the morning, one girl came and saw him. They asked him to wake up. The guy was speaking pidgin English. He must have been born somewhere in Edo State. He may have been Fulani by birth. You know? But when you use the word invade, Fulani herdsmen invade a school. If I had not stayed to watch the program, I would have gone with the impression that there is a massive invasion of school and people have been killed. And you know, as a journalist, you know, the most important, the first 2-3 pages, lines are the most important things you write. So that if people pick a paper, even if they are waiting for a plane and they pick the paper, by the time they read first 3 lines, they would have gotten most of the gist in the paper and they will rush to the airport. You don't hide the most important things in it. So if you have a headline in a national television saying that Fulanis have invaded a school in Edo, only for you to show an old, decrepit man who could hardly walk, who fell asleep with one cow, you know, you are manipulating information. One. There was also another example around Afema area, Sako area. Somebody was killed. They automatically stigmatized the Fulani around the area. They said they were the ones who killed the man. I think some of them were attacked. Some were arrested and taken to police station because of what was reported. Later investigation found out that a member of the family of that group actually went to a ritualist, and they were the ones who killed the lady. This is the point I'm trying to get across. You are endangering the lives of many innocent people, you know, by this kind of characterization and generalization. This is what I'm saying. Now, this conflict, which we are having today, there are local specificities. What is happening in Kaduna and Zamfara may be totally different from what is happening, say, in Ondo, or different from what is happening in Oyo, although Fulanis may be involved in it. If you talk of farmer-header conflict, of course there is, all over the world. And as I said, there are time-tested mechanisms of dealing with it. Now, this is quite often ignored. And even when, and also here, as read and hear on television and radio, that they have not seen any Fulani brought to book, precisely because President Buhari is the president of Nigeria. So nobody, so far they keep on saying, nobody has been brought to court and charged, you know, for kidnapping and killing. Now, from my experience, from what we are saying, how do you bring people you have killed already? When the police arrest these kidnappers, they kill them. When the army encounter them, they kill them. I know many who have been killed. Are you going to wake them up from the grave and bring them to court and charge them? But even so, they are killed. So you cannot see them in court. Even while when they even interrogate them and they have snapped them, it's on clip. Go and find out what the fate of those who have been interrogated, and the clip of which was going around. Well, they have all been eliminated.
Prof, at this point, Prof?
Let me finish. You can't see them. One thing I want to add, you can't see them. But also, the judiciary has to be up and doing. The judiciary has to be up and doing. If people have committed crime, they should be brought to book. The whole process of trial and conviction itself is education. People will know that it doesn't pay. You know, but when you kill them in the bush, people don't even know what has happened. Crime does not pay.
Okay, Prof, Hello? Quickly, let me go back to the point about our neighbors and implications for national security in Nigeria. Chad faces the prospect of imploding with the death of Idriss Deby, yes, and all the developments that we have witnessed in that place. If you go to Niger, Niger is still very fragile. I know Nigeria supported Bazoum, who has emerged as president. Well, that's something we need to worry about. In Cameroon, there's also there are also issues. In Republic of Benin, next door, there was an election. Patrice Talon, just imposed himself. And now we have this big Nigerian country that is in the middle of all of this crisis. Now,
Okay,
what risks do we face? What should the Nigerian government do, particularly with the meddlesomeness and the dubious role of France within the region? Okay, looks like there's a connection problem there, but I thought Professor Abubakar Siddique, who was our guest, got the question. We take a short break. When we return, the conversation with him will continue. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Our guest is still Professor Abubakar Siddique Mohammed. Professor Mohammed is former head of Department of Political Science and International Studies at Ahmadu Bello University, ABU Zaria. He's now Director General Center for Democratic Development, Research and Training, also in Zaria. Well, Prof, sorry about that, hitch, technical glitch, but it's good to have you back. I'd ask you a question about Chad, France, and implications for security in Nigeria, and what we should do.
Yeah, you started even saying it. If you look at Chad, we have common border with Chad. Chad has common border with Africa Central and also Sudan. Now, all those areas are turbulent areas. We have also Libya. We know what happened in Libya with the overthrow of Gaddafi. Various armed groups emerged in Libya. So movement of arms from Libya to the Sahelian zone became very easy. Of course, I've heard that, many commentators have said that Idriss Deby was not a Democrat. There's no doubt about that. But Idriss Deby has stabilized that very particular area. Stability in the area around Chad means to some extent also security for Nigeria. Chad has one of the best armies in Africa. And they sent some troops to stop the advance of Islamists in some parts of Mali and Niger Republic, even as far as some areas like Burkina Faso. And they have been playing that stabilization role. Before Deby came to power, virtually every few years, there was a coup d'etat in the place. In fact, the insecurity we started having in northeastern part of Nigeria had to do with the insecurity in Chad during the period of Hissène Habré, who was virtually a murderer, who was genocidaire, killing people, everybody who opposed him, until he was overthrown by Idriss Deby. And so Chad has been a stabilizing force in that very particular area. Now, the French have 5,100 troops in Chad. It is from there they conduct their operations in the Francophone countries in the Sahel. But France made a blunder. In the conflict in Libya, France supported the forces of Haftar, who had wanted to take over Tripoli and has failed. And he had mercenaries from all over the world, including Chadians. And these Chadians were trained by Russian mercenary in order to help this General Haftar in his war with the central government in Libya. So when they became sufficiently strong, and with the faltering operations of Haftar, these mercenaries, Chadian mercenaries, turned their attention to their own country. And they moved because they are well-trained, they are well-equipped. Within a short period of time, they moved from Libya and they were moving towards the capital of Chad, in N'Djamena. So it was there Idriss Deby, from account, met his downfall. Now the problem, his death. The problem we have is who is to take over from Hissène Habré, Idriss Deby. His own son has been selected. If the forces, the Chadian armed forces rally around him, they will be able to stabilize the area. If, as we've been hearing, there is conflict between him and his elder brother, and who is supporting the rebels, then we are in trouble. Arms will move into the northeastern part of Nigeria at a faster rate than they have done before. You remember some few months back, Idriss Deby led his forces to uproot, to deal with Boko Haram in the areas he occupied on the Lake Chad basin. He pushed them out of the Chadian area back into Nigeria. He followed them up to Nigeria. The Nigerian army was to finish the operation. I don't know what happened. I wouldn't be able to tell you what happened. But all we know is that the successes the Chadian armed forces led by Idriss Deby, achieved was not achieved by the Nigerian army under the former leadership. Now, if Chad becomes unstable, then this regime will now move all the troops they have sent to Mali to stabilize the region back to N'Djamena in order to save the regime. If they do that, those Chad, Niger do not have a strong army to contain the advance of these Islamists. These Islamists, you know how brutal they are. This Islamic. That is part of the problem we have. And arms will move into Nigeria. So we have an interest in making sure that Libya is stabilized in our own interest. Apart from that, there is war going on in Africa Central. So far, Africa Central and Nigeria, only Chad is between us. And so Idriss Deby has made sure that we are isolated from what is going on in Africa Central. And so the conflict also in Sudan. So we have serious security challenges with the demise of Idriss Deby. So it is in the interest of Nigeria for Nigerian leaders to move in, to use whatever means they can to ensure that we have a stable regime in Chad, so that they will not withdraw their troops from other West African countries. If Mali collapses, Niger will be in trouble. If Niger is in trouble, Nigeria is in trouble. Apart from that, if arms keep on moving into Chad, it's not only Nigeria that will suffer, but also Cameroon. Mind you, Cameroon also has a common border with Chad and common border with Nigeria, with the same ethnic group. And so that is the implication for Nigeria of the death of Hissène Habré. So we need to be proactive. We need to be proactive in making sure that this situation in Chad does not explode. The rebels are saying that they're willing to talk. In fact, one of them gave an interview in Gabon today. You could see how foreign elements are involved in this thing. He gave an interview in Gabon today and said that they will be willing to talk to the regime. It also depends upon what the French government will do, because France has 5,100 troops there, and they also have helicopters in place that could fly into any African country within a matter of minutes. So if France, supports the regime and then ensure that this and stop the advance towards the capital of the rebels, then things may be, yes.
Prof, well, very quickly, we have just about 2 minutes to go. You are the vice chairman of the Anna Foundation think tank on COVID-19.
Oh, yes.
I just want your very brief comment on how Nigeria has managed the COVID-19 challenge and the immunization process so far, very quickly.
The immunization is going on smoothly. God has saved us because Nigerians have not been respecting strictly the protocol required. Wearing of mask, I came in with my mask, wearing of mask, social distancing, which is very important. And some of the hospitals are also not properly equipped to test people, for it. So that's why I said God has been saving us. And our foundation has been helping where it is necessary, although we don't advertise what we've done. But what we do is to link up with the various state agencies, link up with various state government to actually sensitize them, let them know areas that require improvement and areas that Anna Foundation could help. That is what we have been doing. So far, we have been very, very lucky. Some states are doing very well. Some states are not, are in denial. Like, for example, Kogi State is in denial that there's no COVID there. I don't know where they got their info. When you don't test, how will you know that there's no COVID in the state?
Well, Prof, we would like to thank you very much for joining us. But it's good news that Kogi State eventually started its own immunization process after the initial denials and all of that. We want to thank you very much.